Good morning and welcome to Norcal APEX Accelerator's webinar, hosted in partnership with the New America Community Corporation's Women's Business Centers. This is Unlock Your Potential, Government Certifications Overview. My name is Amanda Anderson. I'm the program coordinator for Norcal APEX Accelerator. And today I'm joined by our fantastic procurement specialist, Indira Gillespie. And I'm also joined by our fantastic partner, Darlene Neal, the director of the Women's Business Center in Oakland. And I'm actually going to pass it off to her so that she can let you know a little bit about her center and how they can help your business. Darlene?
Great. Thank you, Amanda. And good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Darlene Neal, and I am the director of the Women's Business Center for New America, Oakland location. The Women's Business Center is here to support you as a small business community. We are part of a national network of over 100 educational centers throughout the U.S. And various territories. We are designed to assist women in starting and growing their small businesses. The Women Business Center's goal is to level the playing field for women entrepreneurs who we feel still face unique obstacles in the business world. SBA's Office of Women Business Ownership, OBO, oversees the WBC's network, which provide entrepreneurs comprehensive training, counseling on a variety of topics in several languages as well. So New America Women Business Center in Oakland, we provide training, counseling, and other supportive services to help women entrepreneurs start and successfully grow their business. Our center is open to everyone, not just women. We just have a proactive outreach to women entrepreneurs. So again, we enjoy this opportunity to really reach out to you and support you with your needs. And you can go to the next slide. And also we have a location in our San Jose area as well to support women entrepreneurs and business owners there as well. And next slide. Just wanted to share with you again, I mentioned we have a network of women business centers throughout California. And so just to kind of share some of the work that we do and some of the impact that we have as a network of women business centers. Our goal is to offer strategic, low-cost, high-impact business development services and upskilling, helps entrepreneurs and small business owners overcome barriers to access to capital. And we also help empower entrepreneurs and small business owners to reach their full potential. So we do this again by reaching with you and focusing on what your individual needs are as a support to you in the small business community. This just shows two different organizations that we've supported and how we've helped them through coaching and training and upskilling and securing funding. So we are here to support in various ways. Next slide. And just to give you an overview of what we've done, the 24 economic impact, just some information there. But more importantly, as you can see on the far left side, we have a map here that provides the locations of our women's business centers to support you. So again, feel free to reach out to us. We are here to support the small business community through providing technical resources, assistance, as well as webinars to educate you and the community as small business owners. Thank you so much, Amanda. I'll turn it back over to you.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for joining us, Darlene. You're such an amazing partner to our program, and we're always delighted to bring your free resources to our audience. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. We enjoy it.
And before we get into the bulk of the presentation, I know we're eager, I know we're excited. I do want to let everybody know about another no-cost resource in the Norcal APEX Accelerators and the APEX Accelerator program as a whole. So the APEX Accelerator program is a federally funded nonprofit network that is established nationwide centers that are here to help you with anything related to government contracting. We have over 96 APEX Accelerator centers nationwide, and 7 of those are in California alone. And the best part is all of our resources from the webinars like you're attending today to the in-person workshops like we have coming up, and our counseling services as well are offered at absolutely no cost to you. We will never ask for any type of payment or any information of that nature. But when I say government contracting assistance, what exactly does that look like? Well, at Norcal APEX Accelerator, we're able to offer our government contracting assistance to the 15 Northern California counties that you see on your screen. And we offer our assistance through three main pillars. First, our one-on-one counseling, where once you sign up with us as a client, you'll be paired with a procurement specialist like Indiria or one of our other procurement specialists who can sit down with you on Zoom if you're located a bit out of the area, or if you're located in Humboldt County, we do have our main headquartered office there, so you could sit down in person if that interests you. And your procurement specialist can help you with anything related to government contracting, from determining what agencies you may want to target with your services or products, seeing who has purchased these things in the past, to helping you apply for and maintain your government certifications, like we're going to discuss today, to even helping you review a proposal, a solicitation that you want to bid on, and making sure that your proposal itself has all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted and is all the right ways correct. Our procurement specialist can truly help with anything you need for government contracting. But another huge benefit of becoming a client is you also get access to our custom bid matching software. Now, this is something that our program actually pays for and offers to all of our clients at absolutely no cost. And what this does is it allows you to sit down with your procurement specialist and determine what criteria you're looking for in a good solicitation for you. So maybe you can only service a specific geographical location. Or maybe your product is so niche that the product itself would be something you're looking for in the solicitation. You want it mentioned in the solicitation. Or maybe you want to target state agencies and not federal. Or maybe you just want to target local agencies and no one else. Your procurement specialist can sit down and help you really determine what a good solicitation would look like for you and develop these criteria to input to our system. And once it's input in the system, it'll scrape federal, state, and local procurement sites for opportunities that are relevant to you based on that criteria, and it'll email them directly to you. It can take a lot of the tediousness out of finding the opportunities, and it takes a lot of time to do that. And finally, our third assistance pillar is one you're actually taking advantage of right now. We put on many webinars as well as in-person workshops throughout the year covering a variety of topics, from certification overviews like we're doing today to mentor protege programs if you're a little bit more advanced, or even how to market and network with government contracting officers. But on top of the trainings we put on, we also maintain a robust website with links and resources that you can access from anywhere, even outside of our service area. So if you haven't checked out our website, if you haven't connected with our newsletter, if you haven't had a chance to connect with us as your local Apex Accelerator, or one of the other 96 centers that are in your area, I highly encourage you to do so. It's absolutely no cost assistance for government contracting. It can be daunting to be in the government marketplace, but you really don't have to do it alone. And you'll be able to sign up and find your local center from those links on the slides. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it off to Indiria for the main presentation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Indiria Gillespie, and I'll be your facilitator today for Unlock Your Potential Government Certification Overview. So, on the agenda, what we're going to cover, the objective is positioning your business to be successful in the government contracting marketplace. To accomplish this, we're going to discuss registering your business with government entities, obtaining government certifications, how to leverage registrations and certifications to better position and market your business for government contracting opportunities. And before I get started, I just want to say, please forgive me. I do have a bit of a sinus cold, so I might have to grab a tissue every now and then. Next slide, please. So, why register your business? First, let's step back a little bit. What is a registration? So, most federal, state, and local governments, and even sometimes utility companies, have a registration process. What does that mean? So, they have a way for your company to give them a profile of your company onto their platform. And you give them your NAICS codes or UNSPSC codes, and in exchange, that particular government entity will send you an email notification every time a solicitation becomes available within your NAICS or UNSPSC codes. So that way you can save a lot of time from getting up every morning and trying to find out who just released new solicitations within your arena. Another benefit of registering your business is to access the government contracting opportunities, and you're accessing it in a timely manner because they're going to send you that email as soon as that solicitation is published. You will not miss government contracting opportunities. It's time efficient, as I just described, credibility as well, and you get access to various resources, such as SAM. And we're going to talk about SAM a little bit later. SAM is the federal side of registration, one of the federal registrations. And then you get increased visibility as well. Next slide, please. So the other side of unlocking your potential, so we discussed registration just a little bit, and then there's the certification side. So why get certified? It positions, well, first let's talk about what are certifications. So the federal government, the state, local governments, they all have different certifications, and even some utility companies as well. And some of those certifications have different benefits. And some of those benefits are preference points where you get X% off of your original bid price. So you can leverage being a registrant or certified person so that you can level the playing field and level the competition. And some local governments even have certifications for having your company domiciled in their area. So that way, other companies will have more difficulty that aren't in that area to come in and get those opportunities. There's also like the preference points I was telling you about. They come up sometimes as percentages off of your original bid price. It levels the playing field. It helps attempt to keep state dollars in the state, and some cities do it as well so that they can keep their dollars within their city as well. It allows the federal, state, and local governments to meet its spending goals. And we're going to talk about that later again. I know I'm saying that a lot, but we are going to get to a lot of these things. And it also can help you to work with prime, some of the big boys, so that you can get those larger contracts, get more experience, and hopefully become a prime yourself in the future. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the state of California registration and certifications. Why do business with the state of California? For one, I'm very biased with the state of California because I believe we have the best opportunities here when it comes to government contracting. We are the 5th largest economy in the world. That means our economy is larger than a lot of countries. And so that leads us to the goals. The state of California has a couple of goals. they will spend 25% of all of its overall annual procurement dollars on certified small businesses. And they will spend 3% with disabled veteran business enterprises. And those are certified DVBEs. Now, why is that so impactful? So remember I said that we're the 5th largest economy in the world? That's a lot of money. So imagine 25% of that is earmarked for certified small businesses. That's worthy of getting that certification right there. Next slide, please. So how do you quantify 25%? Now, I'm going to try to say this correctly, okay? You see that number right there in that red circle? That is the amount that the state of California spent in 2023-2024 fiscal year. I'm going to try to say this. $55,471,101,353.97. Can you imagine? So the opportunities are there. I also provided some of the key areas and where most of that money or a lot of that money was spent. And as you see, non-IT services was number 1. And then, what is that? I'm sorry. Encumbrance only. And non-IT goods, IT services, IT goods, and telecom. Next slide, please. So how do you register your business? And remember, whenever the government says register, that is when you're inputting your company's profile into their platform and informing them of who you are, your business, what kind of work you do, and things of that nature, so they can start sending you those email notifications. So that's what registration means. So why register? So with the state of California, you are eligible to register as long as your company is domiciled in the state of California and you are domiciled in the state of California. And what are the benefits of registration? And we talked about this, and I cannot mention it more, and it's just so important. You will receive email notifications of solicitations based on your UNSPSC codes. So on the state side, it's UNSPSC codes. You might have heard a lot about NAICS codes, and that's the federal side uses NAICS codes. So just keep that in mind. And you can just Google these acronyms and you can find your NAICS codes or UNSPSC codes also. And also another benefit is you can get invites to actually submit a proposal. So sometimes, like if it's difficult for them to find someone, or people had not didn't demonstrate any interest, or they didn't get enough people to write a proposal and submit a bid on something, and they have to take it back out to the public, they want to make sure that they get enough bidders so that this time it'll go through. So they might contact you. Sometimes they'll email you, or I've had a phone call before, and they'll say, hey, you might be interested in this opportunity. So that is another huge benefit of registering your business. You can also post ads as a prime contractor or potential prime on a particular solicitation that's seeking a subcontractor. And then you can do it in reverse. If you're wanting to be a subcontractor on a particular solicitation, you can put an ad up saying, I'm looking for a prime. These ads also increases your chances of receiving something on that solicitation. So if you are looking for a prime and you put up an ad, you might get several primes that's going after that contract that want you to send them your estimate of what you're going to do, and that's part of the scope of work. If you get picked up by 3 primes in their proposal, your chances has increased as far as you getting a piece of the pie. So keep that in mind as well. You can view your purchase order information And you can view your progress payment status. Now, who does not want to get that? So you'll know where your payment is in the pipeline. So when you go to caliprocure.ca.gov to register your business, you're going to click on that block right there that you see that says, how do I sell to the state? That is how you're going to register your business. It's a very, very easy process. It's 6 pages, which sounds like it's very long, but each page is like 5 or 6 inches. It's the size of the screen of your computer. And there's probably just 4 or 5 questions on each page. So it's very, very simple. Next page, please. So we're still on registering your business. And remember that web address that I gave you right there in step 1. It's caliprocure.ca.gov. And when you go there, you just click the login register button. Click the new bidder registration button if you had never set up an account with the state of California. If you had set up an account before, you can skip that process and just click that box that we showed you on the last slide, how to sell to the government or to the state. And then, go back. Then you just complete the 5-step process. Next slide, please. So we're still talking about registering your business. So let's talk about the documents that you're going to need to register in CaliProcure. You're going to need your legal business name, your tax identification number. Also, you'll hear it being referred to as your TIN number. Or you can use your social security number if you're a sole proprietor, and your contact information. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about the state of California certifications. The state of California has a small business certification / micro business. For the purposes of public works, there's also small business / public works. And so they just divided those up because public works, they allow them to make more money per year to still be qualified as a small business, as opposed to a business that's not in public works. And then there's the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise, the DVBE. Now let's talk about eligibility and all of those things. Next slide, please. So the eligibility requirements for the small business certification with the state of California are: you must be independently owned and operated, which means you can't be a subsidiary of a larger company that obviously is not a small business. You can't be dominant in the field in which you operate. So in case you're wondering, what does that mean? So someone that's dominant in the field would be like Amazon and things of that nature. So I'm thinking we're safe in this arena. You must be, the principal office of your business must also be domiciled in the state of California, which means you can't have, your company can't be operating out of Delaware, and that's where your headquarters is and things of that nature, but you want to get the small business certification. Now, the reason why they have these rules is because, again, the state of California wants to keep its procurement dollars in California, and they want their small businesses to benefit from their procurement offers. The last eligibility requirement is that owners, officers, members, managers, and/or partners must also be domiciled in California. Now, it does not mean that all employees must live here, which is important because, you know, we have lots of people that work from home nowadays. But all of those people that are the top officers, they must be domiciled here. Now let's look at the limitations on the right-hand side. This is where we're going to talk about the number of employees. And remember I said how public works get to make more money? Well, this is how it's broken down. So the eligibility requirement. So if you're going for the small business certification, not the PW, just the small business certification, you can have up to 100 employees. That's quite a bit and still be considered small business. However, on the financial side, your annual gross, not net, your gross receipts cannot exceed $18 million in the past 3 fiscal years. So that means you could have made 3 million, and as long as the final year was less than 12 million, then you're still considered small business. So it's not, if you don't have to have made the same amount every year. You could have made 17 million one year and just 100,000 in the first and second year, and then made the 17 million the third year. So as long as collectively it's under 18, you're okay. So let's look at the PW portion of small business. So that's, again, remember I said public works. They can have up to 200 employees. And the reason why is because public works, they do work on the roads and things of that nature. So it takes lots of work to keep our roads going, which means they tend to have lots of employees for that to happen. So they are allowed a higher maximum in order for them to still remain a small business. In addition, because of that, they also are allowed and allocated a higher amount of money that they can earn, which is $43 million in aggregate of 3 years. Next slide, please. So more benefits. We love to talk about benefits, don't we? Okay, so some of the small business certification benefits are, remember that 25% goal that California is going to spend on certified small businesses, and that is on an annual basis. And remember that $55 billion number, 25% of that. And then you also get a 5% preference. So what does that mean? So let's pretend like I'm company A and I have that certification for small business. And company B and company C, we're all going after the same solicitation. And we submit our bid, and let's say we all submitted our bid for the exact same amount of money. So in that case, who's going to win? I am, because they're going to take a 5% off my bid price. So my bid, let's say we all had bid $100,000. My bid is going to look like $95,000. However, I'm still going to get paid the $100,000. But the point I'm making is I'm going to win that contract. So that's why it's important also to increase your potential and by getting these government certifications. Also, you can access contract opportunities that are exclusive to certified small businesses. And don't forget those invites as well. You also are just automatically part of the prompt payment program. Now, years ago, you had to apply to be a part of the prompt payment program. So what does the prompt payment program mean? It means once you submit your invoice, so mind you, you have the contract now, you're working the job, you submit an invoice for that particular month, or if the contract is project-based, after completing a project, you submit your invoice. As long as that invoice is accurate, the state of California will pay you net 45, which means you're going to get that check within 45 days. It doesn't mean you have to wait the full 45 days. It just means that they cannot exceed the 45 days. Otherwise, you will receive interest on that check. Now, another thing that really, really makes me excited about the benefits of being a certified small business is the reciprocity partnership. And this is the website here. So what is that? So the state of California has partnerships with different cities and other counties, and there's even some utility companies, universities, and other local governments that acknowledge the certified small business certification, which means they're going to spend 25% of their procurement dollars on certified small businesses as well, even though that's not their certification. but it is the certification of their state. They will give you the preference, prompt payment, all of that. So that broadens and expands your opportunities. Other benefits. Primes get the benefits of your certification. So what does that mean? So let's say the solicitation has a particular solicitation is out and a prime is looking at the solicitation, but this prime does not have a certified small business certification. But this solicitation says that whatever your bid price is, 25% of that bid price must go to a certified small business, which means this prime now needs a person like your company to have a certified small business certification to be their sub so that they can allocate at least a minimum of 25% of their bid price to your company to perform some of the scope of work. Also, another huge benefit is the state of California has what they call small business or DVBE advocates. So the advocates, their purpose, now they do have a job, but part of that job description is to help small businesses, certified small businesses or certified DVBEs to obtain contracts with their agency. Now, not every agency has a certified small business DVBE advocate. Every agency that spends over $100,000 of procurement dollars on an annual basis has an assigned advocate. You can find that advocate list at this link that's listed here. And last I checked a couple of days ago, there are 268 advocates. Quite a bit. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about the DVBE. So I'm sure we have some veterans out there in the audience. I'm a vet. But there's a difference between being a veteran and a disabled veteran. So eligibility, a disabled vet is a vet of the U.S. military, naval, or air service. The veteran must have a service-connected disability of at least 10% or more. The veteran must be domiciled in California. Next slide, please. More benefits. So the inclusion in the state's goal to spend 3% with DVBEs. So that's wonderful. So DVBEs can get a piece of the pie in that way as well. So they're eligible for up to 5% incentive for DVBEs on applicable state solicitations. So there's another wonderful opportunity. You can access contract opportunities exclusively available to certified businesses. You can leverage the benefits included in the Prompt Payment Act, which means you will get paid net 45 as well. Leverage your certifications with other California government entities, being their reciprocity partnership. So this applies with them as well. And when you look at that list of reciprocity partnerships, it will indicate whether or not they acknowledged SB or DVBE or both. Prime contractors get the benefits of your certification when they subcontract with your business. And remember that example I gave you with the small business. If a prime does not have the DVBE certification, but yet that solicitation states, hey, 3%, because remember, that's the goal for the state. 3% of this, whatever your bid price is, has to be with a certified DVBE. So since that prime doesn't have it, they're going to need a subcontracting company that has that DVBE to perform a portion of the scope of work that represents 3% of their bid price. Next slide, please. So how do I apply? Okay, let's talk about that. So before you apply, it's good to have your documents ready for application. And this is a very easy process. So you're going to need to complete your federal tax returns for the applicant firm and affiliates. You're going to have to upload 3 years of your taxes. Now, normally what they do is because it's March 20 in 2025. So some people still have not done their 24 taxes yet. So typically it's not due until April 15th. So if you're applying today, you don't have to have your 2024 to upload. You can upload your 2023, 2022, and 2021. However, after April 15th, they're going to expect you to upload 2024, 2023, and 2022 if you're applying after April 15th. You're going to need your IRS verification or TIN number, your quarterly contribution return and report of wages, and that's Form DE-9C, proof of service-connected disability, and usually that's a rating that you get from the VA. Other documents depending on your company structure. So it could be your bylaws, articles of incorporation, and things of that nature. Once you upload it, the great benefit, remember I said I love California when it comes to government procurement. I mean, we could talk about weather and other things, but as far as government contracting is concerned, the other great thing is when you hit submit, especially with the small business cert, oftentimes you get that certification approval the same day. So that's another plus. Next slide, please. How to apply for the small business and DVBE. Again, remember your friend is caliprocure.ca.gov. Click, you see the box on the side there? Click Get Certified, search for SB-DVBE box. Then click the Get Certified, Apply or Reapply button. You may apply for both with one application, which is great, so you don't have to do 2 applications. Next slide, please. Other California certifications. Next slide. So there are other certifications, the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC. This program monitors supplier diversity and procurement by utilities and covered entities, as well as oversees a clearinghouse of women, minority, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, LGBT, disabled veteran, and persons with disabilities business enterprises. The CPUC's Supplier Clearinghouse verifies the eligibility of businesses. Next slide, please. So the California Public Utilities Commission have several certifications. The Women Business Enterprise, WBE, Minority Business Enterprise, MBE, Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Business Enterprise, which is also LGBTBE, and the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, DBE. Next slide, please. So what is the eligibility requirements? So if you're going after the woman business enterprise, obviously you have to be a woman. And if you're doing the MBE, you must be a minority. You can go to the California Public Utilities Commission. There's a link that's coming up to see what is the qualifiers to be a minority. And you must also, to be eligible for the LGBT, you must be within that community. Disadvantaged. Now, what is disadvantaged? Again, that is something that's defined. You must go to the California Public Utilities link to find that definition for disadvantaged. U.S. citizens or legal aliens can apply. You must hold majority ownership, and majority ownership is 51% or more. So it's not 50.5 or any portion of 50. It must be 51 and higher. Also, you must control the day-to-day operations of the business. So why is that? Well, the reason why, again, they're trying to protect all of the members within these communities so that they're not exploited by other people that do not qualify to get these certifications to purport themselves as being a part of these communities. So that way, if if you're not controlling the day-to-day, it could be a larger company using you as a front for a business, but they're getting all the benefits because they have the certification. So it must be your company, and you must be working and operating that business and making all the decisions. So what are the benefits? General Order 156 provides voluntary procurement goals of 15% from minority business enterprises. And remember, we were talking about the spending goals. So that's the same here. 5% for WBEs and 1.5% from LGBTBEs. Now, why is there such a disparity in percentages? Well, because if you are a woman business enterprise or LGBTBE enterprise, you also qualify for the minority business enterprise as well. So you can qualify and obtain all three. So that's the reason why there's a disparity. Let's go to the next slide, please. So how to apply for CPCU certifications. The Supplier Clearinghouse now has a centralized application. So just a few months ago, last year in 2024, if you wanted to get all those certifications, you would have had to apply for each of those separately. Now it's all centralized, and you can go here to apply. So I'm also asking you to be patient, because you know what happens with new things, sometimes there's a little glitches. So be a little patient, but keep in mind, you're not doing multiple applications. Next slide, please. Caltrans. Okay, so that's the disadvantaged business enterprise. So oftentimes it's associated with Caltrans because it's usually construction, road work, and public works and things of that nature. However, I went to Caltrans's last DBE summit on February 20th, 2025 of this year, and they are making a strong effort with expanding the DBE as far as who they are going to do business with, so that the solicitations doesn't appear to be one-sided and heavy on the construction. They're trying to do business now with professional services and other industries as well. So make sure you give some great consideration with getting that disadvantaged business enterprise, because it is not just construction anymore. Next slide. So how are you become eligible with the DBE certification? You must be social and economic disadvantage. And to find out what that is, just Google the FAR CFR Part 67. Sorry about that. 26.67. And it will describe what is social and economic disadvantaged. Personal net worth is less than, now this is an odd number, $2,047,000. That number changes as inflation changes and economy changes and things of that nature. So that's why the number is kind of odd, but it fluctuates. And you must possess the power to manage the day-to-day operations and long-term decisions for that company. You must be a small business per the SBA standards. So the reason why I didn't have a concrete number here is because this number, as far as how much you're earning and still being considered a small business, it is literally different for every industry. So just Google SBA Small Business Standards Map or tool, and you just simply put in your NAICS code, and it'll pop up and say how much money you're allowed to earn on an annual basis and still be considered small business. Now, just think about this. The state of California, for regular small businesses, not PWs, is 18 million in aggregate of 3 years. The federal is even more lenient. So don't worry about, I wonder if I qualify. If you qualify for the state, you qualify for the feds as well when it comes to your earning power under the small business. And There's also opportunities if you are disabled and you're not able to do the application and things of that nature, but it's your company. You make the decisions. You're more than 51% owner. You can assign someone in your business to apply as the DBE, and that's called special licensing. Now, what are some of the benefits of the DBE? You expand your market access, especially on with Caltrans now that they're opening up their offers as well. You get some prime contractor visibility because, again, remember, they're trying to spend what percent of money with DBEs. So those primes that does not qualify because they make more than $2,047,000, they need your certification, which means they need your business. Networking opportunities. Like I said, I attended a DBE summit. So you make sure that you're exposing yourself by going to these summits, going to procurement fairs and things of that nature. Certification acts as a marketing tool, of course. So you're going to put this on your capability statement. If you don't know what that is, set your appointment with your Norcal APEX Accelerator so we can tell you exactly what it is, what's the purpose, how to create one or develop one, and how to use it as a marketing tool. Increase business potential and recognition by local agencies, financial assistance, and the pop-up is blocking my last one, bonding support. So oftentimes in construction and some industries, you have to be bonded in order to obtain certain contracts. And some bonds could be cost prohibitive to small businesses. But through this certification and SBA, they make it easier for small businesses to get those bonds. Next slide, please. How to apply for the DBE certification. So you can go to this website here, develop an account, and then click apply for certification. Next slide, please. Any questions?
Fantastic. And we did have a couple of questions that we were able to address later on in this section, but please do let me know if you still need any clarification. All that we ask is that you put your questions into the Q&A section as opposed to chat. And I do see one question from Heidi. So as a woman general contractor and 100% owner of the company, hiring another company as subcontractors per trade, but not them being woman owned, does that factor into any of the CPCU certifications for the WBE?
Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm addressing your question. If not, please let me know. So if you're the prime and you have the DBE certification, or did you say Women Business Enterprise certification, and you're going after a particular solicitation and you have a subcontractor. Now, every solicitation will let you know how the percentage that you can subcontract out. So for one, that is be one thing that will limit you. So you can't just be the DBE and be the prime and say, I'm going after this cert, but I'm going to subcontract 100% of it out to a non-DBE or non-WBE or MBE. You can't do that because then it's almost like that company is getting all the benefits of a certification that they do not hold. So please let us know if that answers your question.
Yeah. And we will talk more about specific women certifications as there is a women-owned business certification for the federal side. So that may be related to the question as well, but please, Heidi, let us know if there is anything else we can answer for you. Mike was wondering where we can look up the state's reciprocity partners for DVBE.
So once you dig into the website, the links get longer and longer. So it'll be easier for you to just Google State of California Small Business Reciprocity Partners, and it'll pop up.
Perfect. and can confirm as I just did that. So I will go ahead and drop that link in chat as well. That's the cool thing about DGS and the state pages is they're very Google searchable. So as long as you have like California state, whatever topic you're looking for, and maybe even throw in a DGS because that's the central purchasing agency, you should be able to find it. And that link is in chat. And then I do see a couple of questions about receiving a copy of the presentation or going back to a previous slide. Because this is a lot of information, we are not going to be moving backwards to any slides, unfortunately. But that is part of the reason why we provide not only the slides with all of the links active and clickable, but the recording of this event as well. And you'll receive that within a week of this presentation.
And you can also make your appointment with your procurement specialist to address those questions as well.
Perfect. And then it looks like Logan was a bit confused about the DBE certification, which is absolutely valid. DBE is in this weird space. Uh, but he's wondering if he can qualify just because of his socioeconomic status, or does it have to be demographic disadvantage?
No, it is not.
Perfect. So yeah, it's kind of disadvantage for any reason in that case. I know that with 8A, there was a call for narratives to prove disadvantage. Are you aware of anything going on with similar to that in the DBE program?
I'm not aware of having to write the letter like that you have to do with the 8A, but like it's not all geographic, but you can have like some Indian tribes, they're all, eligible for the DBE. And if you can just show disadvantage, and they really in that the FAR that we listed there, if you read that, it'll spell it all out for you as far as what is disadvantage and qualification for this particular certification.
Perfect. And then Mona was wondering if it's possible to add bid notifications from reciprocity partners. You had mentioned in Cal eProcure that you can sign up to get notifications of bids. Can you fine tune what agencies they may be coming from and target those reciprocity partners?
So the ads, I mean, the solicitations that you're going to receive in your emails are going to be specifically from the state of California under the DGS. So the reciprocity partners, although they acknowledge the small business certification as well as the DVBE, they have their own registration process. So you will have to register, I'm sorry, you will have to register with those various entities separately. So when you
Yeah,
go to the reciprocity partnership list, you can click it and it'll take you to their site, and it's going to take you directly to their procurement site. So you're not searching all over for it, and you can register.
perfect. And I did see Mike put another question in there asking about Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority accepting DVBE. And Mike, I can go ahead and answer that one. You can check who takes what certifications from that link that I dropped in chat. And I'm actually looking at the page. It looks like the VTA does not accept DVBE, but it does accept the small business certification. And then we had one more question before we move on. It looks like Heidi, I'm glad to hear we answered the question, and she's wondering, just to fine tune the understanding, um, should she hire employees as women as well to maintain the WBE, or is that specifically just for the owner to be a woman?
It is for the owner, and the owner must own at least 51% of the business.
Perfect. And with that, we can go ahead and move forward to federal certifications.
Okay, so Now we're going to talk about federal certifications. Why do business with the federal government? The federal government is the world's largest buyer, and they have spending goals as well. So there is the small disadvantaged business, and that's the certification that you obtain when you register your business with SAM. And we'll talk about that later as well. And the 8A, they both have a 5% spending goal. Then there's the WOSB, and this is the federal side of a woman certification, and it stands for Woman Owned Small Business, and that has a 5% spending goal. And then there's a hub zone. Now, hub zone is a little different. So hub zone isn't based on who the owner is. It's more based on where the company is located and a couple of other things. And we'll talk about that later as well. And then there's the small disadvantage veteran-owned small business, which gets a 5% spending goal. Next slide, please. So this chart here tells you for the fiscal year of 2023 and 2024, the spending goals and whether or not they had obtained them. Okay, so small business set-asides for 2022-23 and was 59 billion. And I'm sorry, that's how much was set aside. And then 2023-24 was $29 billion. And then you see them for each of the ones listed as far as set-asides. Set-asides mean if you have that particular certification, the federal government will earmark certain solicitations to be set aside only for those certified companies to bid on, which means it's narrowing your competition base. So you're competing with other companies that have that certification or certifications, because sometimes the set-asides are inclusive of other certifications as well, which means a set-aside might be for a VOSB as well as a SDVOSB and a WOSB and all the others. But those that do not have certifications cannot actively bid on those certifications. So that's what set-asides are. And this is the active spending for those years. So you see the wealth of opportunities that's available for certifications. Next slide, please. So remember I said we'll talk about that later. So SAM, and I'm not sure because you don't hear about it much now, but when I was a little girl, they used to say Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is the US government. So hence their registration process is called SAM, which stands for System for Award Management. Now, SAM is free for you to register onto SAM. I must also mention that you will have companies that will solicit you to help you with SAM and to register you for thousands of dollars. Please keep in mind, I'm glad you are here. Please keep in mind that is something that we help you with for free. So please don't fall for the trap unless you just don't want to do it yourself. That's up to you. But this is free, and SAM is free for you to do on your own as well. Register to do business with the U.S. government. You can obtain a unique entity identifier. Now, that's also referred to as a UEI. This is what, as of 2022, I believe, or 2023, the federal government adopted the UEI in exchange for DUNS. So the DUNS number is no longer needed, but you will need that UEI in order to register with SAM. You can search for contracting opportunities on SAM. You can self-certify as a small disadvantaged business. That is the easiest certification process. So when you're completing the SAM registration towards the end, and I think it's question 19, it'll ask you if your company is a disadvantaged business, a small disadvantaged business. Click yes. If you do not click yes before you submit your application, it is very, very, very difficult to go back and change it. So, so it's kind of like an archaic system. You either have to wait till you have to renew in a year or just do the whole process all over again. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're going to do it on your own. Get listed on the Dynamic Small Business Search database, and this is populated after you complete your business profile in SAM. Obtain a commercial and government entity, a CAGE code, and that's with the Department of Defense Logistics Agency. This is something that's required, but it's not something that you have to do as a standalone. Once you complete the SAM registration, you will automatically receive a CAGE code. So this isn't something like, where's the application for the CAGE code? It's part of SAM, just as the Small Disadvantaged Business certification is. The only thing you're doing separate is the UEI identifier. Next slide, please. So registering your business on SAM, eligibility. Any entity that intends to bid on or receive federal contracts or funding, including for-profit business, nonprofits, government contractors, state and local governments, and subcontractors. So what does that mean? If you don't have a SAM, you're not registered in SAM, you cannot actively pursue federal contracts. So in order for you to bid or in order for you to obtain a certification, you have to register in SAM first. So this is the first step if you want to do government contracting with the federal government. So the benefits, again, I'm stressing it's free. I didn't mention this before, but it's also free when you register with the state of California or get certified with the state of California. So none of the certifications or registrations on a federal or state side has a cost associated with it. Search for contracting opportunities is obviously a big benefit. You can get to self-certify as a small disadvantaged business, get listed on the Dynamic Small Business Search database. And I want to go back to the SDB because I do get a lot of questions from this. What is a small disadvantaged business? A disadvantaged business is not in relation to your ethnicity. It's in relation to whether or not you are disadvantaged. You could be disadvantaged because it could be disadvantaged because your gender, it could be disadvantaged because of economics or different things, or because you simply are a small business in a small business arena. If you feel that you're disadvantaged, remember, it's a self-certification. Next slide, please. We're continuing with SAM and with the benefits. So you see, the benefits takes 2 pages to talk about. You must register in SAM if you want to obtain federal certifications and do business with the federal government, which I mentioned. And first, you must obtain a unique entity identifier. I don't know why I can't say that today. The UEI. Now, you obtain the UEI on the same page that you register for SAM. And of course, SAM is simple, sam.gov. Next slide, please. So how do you obtain that UEI? Go to sam.gov and you see that box there. And when it says get started, and it says get started, get a unique entity ID, the UEI code. So you click that green button. Set up your sam.gov account, sign in to login.gov, and just keep in mind that SAM has a 2-step authenticator and stuff like that. It could be tedious, but it's for your benefit. Complete the SAM profile, select the entity and the list. So when you do the profile, the whole purpose of the UEI is to make sure, just like the name says, unique. They want to make sure that your business is unique from any other business, so that because they use that as a way to pay you if you were to have a government contract, they're making sure that they're paying the right company. So for instance, my business, there was a company with the exact name as mine in Atlanta, Georgia. So my UEI code got held up just so they can make sure they can differentiate my business from that business before they gave me a UEI code. So again, the UEI is for your benefit and for your safety. So when so back to select the entity in the list, they're going to put up several companies that might have the similar name or the same name, and you have to select which is yours. Confirm that the information is correct. Enter entity start year and state of incorporation, and then select your receive UEI. So it's very easy to do. And next slide, please. So the next step after you receive your UEI is to now register with SAM. So again, sam.gov is where you need to go. You will need your company information, your NAICS codes, your certifications and qualifications. Do not forget, now mind you, I did say you must have your SAM in order to get certification. So why are they requiring certifications? So these are industry certifications, like if you are a construction worker and that certification and stuff like that. And so these are all obviously certifications outside of having federal certifications. Do not forget, again, to self-certify, because it is a pain once you submit without self-certifying as a small disadvantaged business. And just remember, it's towards the end of the application. And remember that the CAGE code is automatic. It's not a separate application. You finish SAM, you'll receive a CAGE code. Next certification, next page, please. So, and it happens to be next certifications. So, federal certifications. So now that you have your UEI code, you've registered with SAM, and you have your CAGE code, you can now pursue federal certifications. So there are quite a few here, as you see. There's the small disadvantaged business, which you probably already would have had if you did the sam.gov registration. Then there's the veteran-owned small business. Then there's the service-disabled veteran-owned small business, the woman-owned small business, and the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. 8A Business Development Program and the Hub Zone Program. So we're going to talk about the eligibility and the benefits. However, I recommend that you do meet up with your Norcal APEX Accelerator so that they can assist you with choosing which certifications to go after. Because some of these certifications, like the 8A program, is a very rigorous program. And your APEX Accelerator procurement specialist may not recommend that you go after it as a new startup. Not saying that you can't, but they can advise you as to the difficulties and what they think is best for your company at this time. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the SDB first. So that's the one that you're getting through sam.gov. So the eligibility requirement, again, that 51% is the trigger. At least 51% owned and controlled by one or more individual who are both socially and economically disadvantaged, race, ethnic, or cultural bias. Meet the Small Business Administration size standards for their industry. So this is the site that I was telling you about when I said to Google small business size tool, small business size tool. Here is the link for that. And you just put in your NAICS code and it'll let you know how much money you're able to earn in order for you to still be considered a small business. Average income over the past 3 years that does not exceed $350,000. So remember, this is small and disadvantaged. Your net worth is less than $750K. You must not own assets more than $6 million. So the benefits, you can self-certify as the small disadvantaged business. You can receive preference only when competing for prime contracts within the 8A program. And then there's the federal 5% goal. And your federal agencies and primes are again seeking small disadvantaged businesses to meet the 5% goal. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about the veteran-owned small business, the eligibility requirements. So, of course, you have to be a veteran. And you must be identified by the Department of Veterans Affairs as a VA. So when you got discharged out of the military, everybody received a DD 214. And that is how you prove that you are a vet. Now, if you lost it or whatever, you could also go to the VA to have them issue you a new one. Have no less than 51% of the business owned and controlled by one or more veterans. So you can have multiple owners, but collectively, at least 51% of the owners must be veterans. Be considered a small business as defined by SBA size standards. And you see that came up again. So again, you must be a small business. Demonstrate veterans are veterans are actively involved in the day-to-day operations. Again, this is just to ensure that it's veterans that's actually receiving these benefits. Certified VOSBs may compete for sole source and set-aside contracts with the VA. So what are sole source? So sole source justifications, usually in an emergency, the VA can just look up your company and say, okay, this company is the only company that can provide this service in an emergency capacity. So they give you the contract. But oftentimes it must be at least 2 small businesses in that case before they issue it, where they can compare it to, to make it competitive at least. Also, sole source isn't just for emergency purposes. There are companies, there's areas in America that's not very populated. So there's probably could be a company that is the only company that can provide the service. So they can use that as a reason for a sole source justification. And you can go into the FAR and do a search on sole source to get more information on what does sole source mean and how it can apply to your business. All federal government purchases between $10,000 and $250,000 are automatically set aside for small businesses. So that's wonderful. And 2 small businesses can offer the product or service at a fair and reasonable price. So they need, on the state side, they must have at least 3 bids. And here on the federal, they're saying they need at least 2. The VA set aside a minimum of 7% of its annual contracting dollars with VOSBs. VOSBs can also compete for contracts under other qualifying social economic programs. So that broadens their opportunities as well. Next slide. Thank you. So what are the eligibility requirements? You must have a service-connected disability recognized by the the VA, have no less than 51% of the business owned and controlled by one or more service-connected disabled veterans. Now, basically, going back to the first eligibility requirement, so the service-connected disability is recognized by the VA, but they give you a rating. And that rating is what tells you that what is the percentage of your disability. So if you do have a disability, or some people can have a 0 disability rating, but you have to, in order for you to be service disabled, you have to have a number in that rating system. Be considered a small business as defined by SBA size. And again, you have that link in the chat. Demonstrate veteran or veterans are actively involved in the day-to-day operations. The benefits of a certified SDVOSB you may compete for sole source and set aside just as the VOSB. And all federal government purchases between 10 and 250K are automatically set aside for small businesses. And again, 2 small businesses can offer the product or service at a fair and reasonable price, so they need at least 2. VA set aside a minimum of 7% of its annual contracting dollars with small disabled veteran-owned small business. Please forgive me, sometimes I say service disabled. I mean disadvantaged and not disabled. The federal government must spend 5% of its annual procurement dollars with SDVOSBs. So there's a difference. The VA has its own figure because it makes sense. They're the VA. So, of course, they're given a higher preference as the VA to veterans. And then, but overall, the federal government, as far as other agencies outside of the VA, the spending goal is only 5%. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the woman-owned small business, the WOSB. So the eligibility requirements for this certification is you must be a small business according to the SBA size standards. Again, you have that link. Be at least 51% owned and controlled by women. You notice it says women, so it could be multiple women owners, or you can have 3 women owners and a male owner, but that's still over 51%. That's woman owned. And you must be U.S. citizens. You must have women that manage the day-to-day operations who also make long-term decisions. SBA maintains a list of those eligible industries and NAICS codes. So that's the little difference with the WOSB on the federal side. Not all industries qualify for the WOSB. Usually it's areas where not many women are represented. And so to try to increase it, they provide this certification and these benefits to try to increase the numbers in those arenas. Please take a look at those NAICS codes because it's not very restrictive as you might think. So some of the benefits help to level the playing field for women business owners. The government limits competition for certain contracts to WOSB businesses that participate in the WOSB federal contract program. Again, that's a set aside. So the WOSB has set asides as well. These contracts are for goods and services and specific NAICS codes where WOSBs are underrepresented. 5% of federal annual procurement dollars must be spent on certified WOSBs, and provided they are eligible, WOSB certified firms can still compete for contract awards under other socioeconomic certifications. Also keep in mind too, a benefit that isn't listed here is that primes are always looking for WOSBs so that they can meet that 5% preference. So this is a good way for you to market your business. And this is why we say you can market your certification because people are looking for your certifications. Next slide, please. Economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. That's a mouthful. The eligibility requirements for this certification is you must be a small business according to the SBA standards. You're getting the trend. Be at least 51% owned and controlled by women who are U.S. citizens. Have women manage the day-to-day operations and also make those long-term decisions. Be owned and controlled by 1 or more women, each with a personal net worth less than $850,000. And remember, this is personal. It's not all collectively for all the women to not be worth $850,000, but each individual. Be owned and controlled by 1 or more women, each with $400,000 or less in adjusted gross income averaged over the previous 3 years. Be owned and controlled by 1 or more women, each $6.5 million or less in personal assets. SBA maintains a list of those eligible industries and NAICS codes. So again, this is limited because it's part of the WOSB. It's also limited by NAICS codes. So what are some of the benefits? Help to level the playing field for women business owners. The government limits competition for certain contracts to WOSBs, and that's including ED WOSBs, which means set-asides. These contracts are for goods and services and specific NAICS codes where WOSBs are underrepresented. Some contracts are restricted further to EDWSBs. So this is where they differentiate the WSB from the EDWSB. There are some contracts that are earmarked for WSBs, and then there are some that are further restricted to the EDWSBs. And if they didn't do that, then why get the EDWSB if you're still getting the same benefits as the WSB? 5% of federal annual procurement dollars are spent on EDWSBs, and provided they are eligible, WSB certified firms can still compete for contract awards under other socioeconomic programs, including 8A and the Hub Zone. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about the 8A Business Development Program. So as you notice, this is a program and not a certification. So the federal contracting and training program for experienced small business owners who are socially and economically disadvantaged. This is a 9-year program, so keep that in mind. For the first four years is the development stage, building the business capacity through training, mentoring, securing government contracts specifically set aside for 8A firms, allowing them to gain experience and grow operations. The last 5 years is the transitional stage. It prepares the business to compete in the open marketplace while reducing their reliance on the program. You must remain compliant throughout the program, and individuals may participate once in a lifetime. This is the reason why I said to please talk to your procurement specialist first, because if you cannot keep up with the program for whatever reason, it could be financial, because if you're working with an 8A firm, another 8A firm, or under the other programs, and you get a large contract and you can't keep up, or you don't have the capacity, financial capacity to keep up, if like the mentor, as you see, it says mentoring. If your mentor is getting a large contract as a prime, but you're assisting along as the 8A, or being in the 8A program, but you don't have the financial means to keep up. And what that means is each government has a pay cycle. And like I said, mentioned with the certified small business or certified DVBE, you get paid net 45. Well, some government agencies takes even longer than that, which means if you start a contract in January, and let's say you bill February 15th for January, you could potentially not get paid for January into April 15th. So if you can't keep up financially and you end up dropping out of the program, you can never get back in the program. And no, you can't start another business and say, I'm going to get into the program using another business. The program is based on you, your name. So only you can get in one time. So you have to be very, very careful when you get into this. I'm not saying don't do it, because it's a wonderful opportunity. Just make sure that you are ready, and make sure you talk to someone to make sure that you are prepared and you fully understand what it is you're getting into. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about the eligibility requirements for the 8A. You must be a small business, and again, you know where to find that out. Not have previously participated in the 8A program, be at least 51% owned and controlled by U.S. citizens who are socially and economically disadvantaged. Have a personal net worth of not more than $850,000, adjusted gross income of $400,000 or less, and assets totaling $6.5 million or less. You must demonstrate good character. Demonstrate the potential for success, such as having been in business for 2 years. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, is that oh, I'm sorry. That is it. I'm sorry. Go back. So let's talk about the benefits of the 8A business program. The benefits are efficiently compete and receive set-aside and sole source contracts. So this is wonderful. So you get set-aside opportunities as well as some of the certified businesses. receive one-on-one business development assistance for their 9-year term from dedicated business opportunity specialists focused on helping firms grow and accomplish their business objectives. Pursue opportunity for mentorship from experienced and technically capable firms through the SBA Mentor Protege Program. Connect with procurement and compliance experts who understand regulations in the context of business growth, finance, and government contracting. So remember, one of the requirements was for you to remain compliant. So here it's telling you that you will have, you can connect with procurement and compliance experts to understand those regulations. So it's not like they're just throwing you out there and telling you to go forth and multiply and thrive, but they're going to assist you along the way and tell you what are those compliance factors. Pursue joint ventures with established businesses to increase capacity. Qualify to receive federal surplus property on a priority basis and receive free training from the SBA's Empower to Grow program. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about the HubZone program. Again, this is another program and not a certification, but it is something that's beneficial to businesses. The HubZone program fuels small business growth in historically underutilized business zones with the goal of awarding at least 3% of federal contract dollars to HubZone certified companies each year. Next slide. So the eligibility requirements. You must be a small business according to the SBA standards, be at least 51% owned and controlled by U.S. citizens, a community development corporation, an agricultural cooperative, an Alaska Native corporation, a Native Hawaiian organization, or an Indian tribe. Have its principal office located in a hub zone. So you can click here, or you can Google HubZone map, and it'll come up as the first search. And you put in your company's headquarters address, and it'll let you know whether or not you're in a hub zone. Have at least 35% of your employees living in that hub zone. So why is that important? That is important because if that area is deemed a hub zone, it means that it's economically disadvantaged. So the whole purpose is to have companies there to help build up their economic structure. So if you're going to hire outside of that zone, then it's really not benefiting those that's living in that hub zone. And why that's also a benefit too, if 35% of the employees are living in that hub zone, what are those employees doing? They are spending their money in those areas as well. So that helps bring a positive economic impact in those zones. And that's the whole purpose of a hub zone. You can find the full qualification criteria in Title 13, Part 126, Subpart B on the Code of Federal Regulations. And there's the link for that. Next slide, please. Sorry about that. So what are the benefits of the HubZone program? The government limits competition for certain contracts to businesses in historically underutilized business zones. It also gives preferential consideration to those businesses in a full and open competition. So let me just explain something real quickly. So when you put your address in that, the HubZone map, in the past, it used to be based on, this is years ago, it was based on zip codes. And then the government finally realized that some zip codes can be affluent as well as have some economically disadvantaged areas, because we do have some very large zip codes in the United States. For example, Chicago. It's a huge, Cook County is the largest county, and it only has a few zip codes. So there's some affluent areas within those that zip code, as well as those that aren't. So when you do it by zip code, it was a disadvantage to the disadvantaged people. So now the map is done all the way to, they can level it down to the block. the city block. So you could live on one city block, and I've had this happen with a client that's in a hub zone, but the next block is not a hub zone. Okay, so they're very strategic. It's very, the qualifying, they want to make sure that they're helping those that need the assistance. Joining the Hub Zone program makes your business eligible to compete for the program's set-aside contracts. And Hub Zone certified businesses also get a 10% price evaluation preference and full and open contract competitions. Also, closed military bases are automatically Hub Zones as well, because we have several of those in California. HubZone certified businesses can still compete for contract awards under other social economic programs they qualify for. Next slide, please. So how do you apply for the federal HubZone? So the last time I did this class, it was all a separate application. But since then, the federal government has centralized this application platform. So just like on the state side, where you can do this SB and the DVBE with one application, the federal government has one application as well. And that includes the programs. So you can apply for the federal certifications as well as the programs to include the HubZone and the 8A certification, all under one platform. So it's a new single application for SBA federal contracting certifications. And you can find that at certify.sba.gov. Next slide, please. So the centralized application, again, I want to make sure, give it some grace because it is a new process. So there are some glitches. And if you would like, you can also ask for assistance from your APEX Accelerator. So there's the small disadvantaged business, SDB, the VOSB, the SDVOSB, WOSB, EDWOSB, 8A, and HubZone. This is all of the applications that you can do that's centralized on that website. Next slide, please.
Fantastic. And we're on to our second Q&A section about federal certifications. And this is just a friendly reminder. If you do have questions about the presentation or about connecting with the Women's Business Center or Norcal APEX Accelerator, please feel free to enter those into the Q&A section of Zoom. I do see one question as of now. Katie is wondering what the distinction is between WOSB and EDWSB. It seems like very subtle almost.
Yes, they are very subtle. So the WOSB, all you need is to be, well, other than the eligibility requirements, but just to tell you the differentiator is, one, you only have to be a woman. The other one, you have to be economically disadvantaged as well as being a woman. So those are the two differentiators.
And everybody's always looking for like a definition of what economically disadvantaged means and like what threshold of sort do they have to pass. Are you aware of if WOSB requires that narrative of disadvantage?
So also, when I went through the eligibility requirements, those dollar amounts and stuff like that, that would stipulate that you are economically disadvantaged. So look at those qualifiers. And then if you still have questions, you can always go to just Google FAR and Google FAR and disadvantage, and it will give you a breakdown. And it's very lengthy, but just you can look that up, and it's based on economics pretty much.
Perfect. That's a great clarification also for myself. And it looks like that's all the questions we had about federal certifications. I will note we're going into local certifications next and how to leverage all of this to benefit your business. And we will have one more Q&A section after that as well. I did just see, as I was talking, another question came in about NICS codes. So are NICS codes a unique code issued to certain businesses or just codes relating to existing businesses from their websites?
So a NAICS code is based on, it's an industry code based on what it is that your business does. So if your business does construction, there's going to be a whole bunch of different NAICS codes under construction. There's going to be one for structural. There's going to be one for people that do commercial, people that build bridges or whatever. So there's going to be a NAICS code for every different thing. So basically what it's used for, it identifies for when you register your business, it lets that government agency know what it is that your business does, so they know what type of solicitation to email to you on the email notifications. You can also just Google the word NAIC codes and it'll tell you more. And you can just put in what it is that you do, and a whole bunch of NAICS codes will come up, and you can select the ones that's applicable to you.
Perfect. And I'll go ahead and actually drop that link to explore more about NAICS codes in the chat as well. And with that, I do believe we can move on. So leveraging that.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about leveraging your business registrations and certifications. So now that you have all these certifications and registrations, what do I do with them? What's the next step? Other than coming to Norcal APEX Accelerator, you will connect with agencies. So on the state of California side, leverage it upon your California's SB and DVBE certification to market your business to small business or DVBE advocates. That is one of the main things that you can do. Because remember, I said, as of just a couple of days ago, it was 268 small business DVBE advocates. And one of the functions, their job descriptors, is to assist your business with government contracting with their particular agency. So that's why you're going to use that certification, because you have to be certified in order for a certified SB DVBE to assist you. So that's one way to connect with these agencies. Now, how are you going to do that marketing? Contact your Norcal APEX Accelerator, and we can help you develop a marketing strategy as to how you're going to develop first that capability statement and pursue those advocates. And if you don't have your certifications, the small business and DVBE or either or, contact us, because this is the prime time. And the main reason is the fiscal year ends on June 30 for the state of California. And a lot of those state agencies have spend downs. And what that means is they have a budget that began in the beginning of their fiscal year of July 1st. That fiscal year ends June 30. If they have not spent all of their money, that money will have to go back to the state. So that is called use it or lose it funds. Nobody wants to lose money. So, and it's not that they're not good with their finances. It could have been a project fell through. They were going to have an event and it didn't happen because of bad weather. So now they have extra money, but that money has to be spent because they don't want that money to go back, and they don't want the state to change their budget to lower it to what they were able to spend for the next fiscal year. What does that mean? They have a pot of money to spend. This is the best time to start marketing to them to spend that use it or lose it money. So if you don't have your SB certification yet, make sure you get that or contact us to help you with that. And remember, that is the one that you can get in the same day. And then we can help you with that capability statement so you can start marketing to those small business and DVB advocates so you can get a piece of that use it or lose it funding. Also, advocates are there to help you, as I've said before, and I spoke ahead of myself and not knowing I was speaking on that, already telling you what's already listed here. So we can help you with a capability statement, spending thresholds, use it or lose it funds, and opportunities coming down the pike, and give you marketing advice. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an example. Now, they've just recently, last week, because I go into the system almost every week, almost at least 2 or 3 times a week with my clients. And just last week, they've changed it. So it's not an Excel spreadsheet anymore. So you're not going to see the yellow highlights. And yes, so the yellow highlights it lets you know that these are the agencies that are looking at for SB-DVBEs first. They have a first policy for SB and DVBEs. And then the ones with the X's, as you see in the center, those are the ones that have construction contracts. It doesn't mean that they are limited to construction. They're just identifying it for people that do construction, that it may not appear to be obvious because like Veterans Affairs has an X. That's not obvious that they would have construction needs. So that's why they have the X, to let construction companies know that they do have those opportunities. So the new structure way this is set up, it's not an Excel spreadsheet, it's online. So it can be adjusted just in time. What you're looking at is real numbers and real information. And it also has, because the whole screen here doesn't show everything, but it has the department, their address, the advocate's name, the address where that advocate is located, their web address, their email address, their telephone number. So you get a wealth of information. However, you need to know how to market to them. You can't just call them and say, hey, I want a contract. If it was that easy, they don't, it's not like that, because you have to think there are a lot of other businesses out there that have that small business and DVBE certification, just like you. Okay, so we can help you with structuring that marketing strategy. So you can develop when you pull down this list, you can develop a strategic list of agencies that you want to pursue. Of course, that capability statement is very important. If you talk to a contract administrator regarding contracts and procurement opportunities, the first thing they're going to ask you is, can I see your capability statement? So that's something that we need to assist you with if you don't have one. You need to follow up after you send them one, email to them. You need to follow up with a call. You just don't hand it to them and hope that contracts will rain upon you. Follow up with them, develop a friendship or relationship with them. And then limit your pursuit to 10 to 20 agencies, because it becomes very difficult for you to keep notes on which agency you spoke to this day, what did they say, what did they recommend that you do to position yourself better, what contracts are coming down the line. So you work those 10 to 20 agencies. Come up with a checklist of what would make them fall off the list. If they say, no, we don't have any opportunities, maybe in 3 months, put them in a different, develop a spreadsheet, put them in a, hey, contact in 3 months pile. But make sure you're always pursuing 10 to 20 agencies. Next slide, please. Know the spending thresholds. This is something that many people do not pursue. So California state, this is still talking about the state of California. Each state agency is granted purchasing authority to a specific tier. Purchasing authority approval tiers 1 through 4 displays purchasing authority dollar thresholds by goods and services category and acquisition methods. Non-accredited state agency purchasing authority, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I have an alarm telling me to start work in 15 minutes. Anyway, non-accredited state agency purchasing authority information are available upon request. So how does this affect you? So this means every agency has a spending threshold that says they could spend X amount of dollars within this industry arena before having to go public with a solicitation. So there are government contracting that takes place that has never gone public, that you'll never see published, as long as it's below that spending threshold. So depending on what it is that you do, it's a different spending threshold. So like IT and construction, they have higher spending thresholds than professional services like accounting and people that do assessments and audits and things of that nature. So go to that website to learn more about that. Next slide, please. Fine-tune your industry codes. Now, this is a fun one. California, state, and federal. Another way to leverage your registration is through UN SPSC or NAICS codes on SAM.gov. For example, you see here these codes. These are state codes. UN SPC codes tend to be much longer than NAICS codes. So let's say that you do construction site hallway services. That means when at construction zones, you clean up the mess. You pick up the broken concrete that they've want to get rid of, or if they're tearing down a building and stuff, you're cleaning up the debris. So when you put in this UNSPC code, when you're registering your business so that you can start getting those opportunities to come into your dropped into your email, you should also put down that you are a general contractor. So why do that if you are not a general contractor? You only do haul away? Because now you're going to get those opportunities or those notifications letting you know that there's a general construction solicitation that's available. You open it up and you look at the scope of work. In the scope of work, if they're doing construction, anything construction, because you got to do some tear down, or if you're building, you're going to have waste. Then you know, okay, I'm going to put in an ad. Remember, I talked about the vendor ads. So you're going to put in a vendor ad under that solicitation saying, I am a subcontractor looking for prime. Because you know that they're going to do construction, they're going to need someone to haul away their debris. So that's a good way to market yourself, because now you're finding out who's doing that work that's going to need your work. So that's a way to play with the NAICS and UNSPC codes. Next slide, please. So again, on the state side, complete the form to place a vendor ad. So this is how you place that vendor ad here. You're going to, when you place that ad, they're going to ask you for your response deadline. So for example, let's say that the solicitation came out on April 1st and that the proposal is due on April 30th. And of course, since you are registered, you're going to receive that notification on April 1st, the day that it comes out. You see that it's a construction person and they're going to need some haul away. So you're going to place an ad. So with the response deadline, you don't want to say, respond to me by April 29th, the day before it's due. You need to make sure that you're leaving enough time, because you have to think of what is it that the prime, what do they have to do? So they're going to reach out to you and say, okay, send me a bid for how much you will charge me for the haul away. And of course, you're going to ask questions like how many tons or whatever it is. And so you're going to send them a bid. So the reason why you don't want them to wait until April 29th, first of all, they probably wouldn't. They would have found someone else. But you need to give them adequate enough time to receive your bid and incorporate it into their overall proposal bid price within the solicitation, so that they can have that all done in time enough to submit it in a timely manner before the bid is due. Okay. And also in the description, place your certification name and your certification number. Like, I am SB certified, and this is my certification, because they might be they might have to meet that 25% requirement. Or if you're DVBE, that 3% requirement. So make sure when you're selling yourself, you make sure you list the certifications that you have. So as I had spoken to you, as far as the benefits of placing an ad, it broadens your opportunity, because you might get 3 primes that are going after this contract that's including your price as part of being a subcontractor. So one of those 3 might win, which means you have a better chance of becoming a sub. So make sure you use those vendor ads. Next slide, please. Okay, connect with other government contracts. So on the federal side, you may do something similar with the SAM.gov. When you sign in to SAM.gov, click Contract Opportunities. Click the results title. Verify if an interested vendors list, or IVL, has been established. Add yourself to the IVL, which is a public list that allows you to market yourself to other entities. So for subcontracting or prime contracting opportunities. So this is another way of marketing yourself and letting yourself be known that you're interested in that opportunity. Next slide, please. And I'm going to turn this back over to Amanda.
Perfect. And thank you so much, Indiria. It's a lot of information to go through, but like I said in the beginning, you don't have to go through all this alone. The applications, all of the registrations, everything can be done with a procurement specialist at Norcal APEX Accelerator or with an advisor from the Women's Business Center. We all are funded and we're an organization to help see you succeed. So please do take advantage of these free resources for your business. And as I said, we will have a wrap up Q&A section, but I do want to let you know a little bit about some other events you may be interested in attending. So on April 17th, we'll be doing a virtual event covering how to network and market with government buyers. And then we also have some exciting in-person events coming up. We will be in Ukiah, California on April 25th, and we'll be joined by multiple state agencies as well as California DGS, Office of Small Business and DVBE Services, to present to you how to do business with the state of California. And then if you are looking for networking opportunities, not only is that event awesome for networking with state agencies, but we're also in partnership with some other NorCal resource centers to put on the 2025 Northern California Procurement Fair, which is happening on May 2nd in Redding, California. So if you're available and or willing to travel, we would love to see you there. And with that, are there any last minute questions? We are just about 5 to 6 minutes. If you all have any questions about the presentation or about the certifications or how you can sign up with the Women's Business Center or Apex Accelerator. I do see Heidi asking if we have a Southern California branch. So both the Women's Business Center and Apex Accelerators are available in SoCal. And I will go ahead and drop the the locator link so that you can find your local Apex Accelerator. And then Darlene, if you would like to drop any resources or sign up pages that you have for Southern California, that would be fantastic. All right. It doesn't look like there are any other questions, so I will go ahead and wrap us up. First off, thank you so much, Darlene, for being here with the Women's Business Centers of Oakland and San Jose. Please do connect with them if you're looking for free in-person advising. They are a fantastic resource for your business. And Darlene, thank you so much for joining us today. And Indira, thank you so much for the presentation. It is a lot of information to cover, but I believe we got enough details so that you could get started, get informed, and maybe connect with a center of Women's Business Center, Apex Accelerators to help finish that application and get it submitted.
Thank you.
And
Regina.
yeah,
Thank you.
always a joy presenting with you both. And as everybody exits the webinar, you will be redirected to our feedback survey. If you have a moment, we would always appreciate your feedback because we do put these events on for you to benefit you. So if we could be doing different topics that would benefit you more, or maybe a different format, the only way we are going to know is if you let us know. And on the flip side, if you think that this was a great presentation that got all of the information you needed to feel confident in starting those applications, we would also love to know that as well so we can continue presenting this for any other businesses that may need the information. So if you have a moment, we would always appreciate your feedback. And with that, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, both of you. It's been a pleasure.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a
good
good
rest of the
day.
day.